Welcome back to Savvy's voice modulation workshop. My name is Savvy, and today I will be teaching you how to feminize your voice, how to
masculinize your voice,
how to make it sound androgynous. Really, today I will provide some of the methodology, some of the tools and exercises that we can use and you can use to make your voice sound like the gendered perception that you want for it. So, first of all, I need to make something very clear. When it comes to voice, we have to be very careful with vocal hygiene and with vocal health. That means that if you want to do any voice work, please be sure to stay hydrated. That is because, your voice does rely on some lubrication at the level of your vocal cords, your vocal folds. And so if that lubrication is not present, your voice will just kind of be raspy, fatigue really quickly. So be sure to drink water, and your voice will thank you for that later. Try to drink 10 to 15 minutes before doing any voice work. Just drinking will not instantly make your voice better, not hydrated. That is because the water goes down your stomach, not down your lungs. That would be the pipe where the voice is. So the blood flow will be doing most of the work and gets you all the water and the nutrients to your vocal folds in time. Hence why you want to wait at least 10 to 15 minutes before doing that voice work. Another thing I should mention is certain medications are responsible for drying up your voice. So some of you might be on HRT and take spironolactone. This medication is known to be drying to the body. So be sure that maybe if you take any kind of medications, it is drying to the body, and if you have the option to maybe take it in the evening to avoid any side effects of drying your voice, you might want to work around that. And if you can't, it's not the end of the world. It just makes voice work a little bit more difficult in the sense that your voice will be more dry, and so you will have maybe less time to practice. It's not the end of the world, of course, as long as you stay really hydrated. Just be conscious of those things. It goes without saying that smoking, drinking, and caffeine in large amounts, well, in some, amounts, whatever, is also known to be drying to the voice. I've had coffee before this workshop, so, it's not the end of the world. You can still use your voice. Just be sure to hydrate properly. And whatever you do, body autonomy reigns supreme. So just be safe and be informed and have fun with your voice work. With that being said, let's talk a little bit now about what voice is about. So behind me on either my right and left side, you can see a graph which aims to describe the voice into three main categories. Namely, here we have the power source filter model. The power aims to describe how much power we can put into our voice. That will be the airflow that we can provide. More air means we can achieve a louder voice. Less air means we can achieve a quieter voice. But it doesn't mean much unless it is working in relationship with the source. So what is this part? This part here is what we call the voice box. It's the larynx. If you take your hand and put it gently on your neck, you can feel a little bump there. Some of you might not feel it as much, but we all have a larynx. You might feel the cartilage more or less. And so behind that cartilage, we'll find little flaps, which are called the vocal folds. Now, this vocal folds open and close really fast, hundreds of times per second, thanks to the air that we provide to them. And so with a mixture of closing the vocal folds and blowing air through those, we achieve a source sound. Right? Those vocal folds vibrate, they make a sound, as any object that vibrates makes a sound. And then the source sound will then move up here into the filter. And what is the filter? The filter is really just a series of tubes. So we have the nose tube, the mouth tube, and the pharyngeal tube, which is basically what's behind your mouth and nose. And so that will be really where most of the changes will be happening. First of all, this is the way you are speaking, right? You say ah, e, o, u. All the different vowel sounds are a different shape and configuration of your tongue and of your lips. And that already is a form of filtering. But there's a more drastic form of filtering that we'll be experimenting with today, which is modifying the size of the pharynx, namely by modifying the height of the larynx. And so by doing so, we can achieve really
big, wide, cavernous sounds,
or really small, bright, brighter, more femme-leaning sounds. And so again, for those who came in late, voice works super simple. We have air. It moves up here. It reaches this part, which is your larynx. There's vocal folds in there. They vibrate thanks to the air we provide. They make a sound. And that sound is then filtered through the space. The bigger
The spaces, the darker and the more prominence of lower frequencies in the voice, and
the smaller and the more prominent we have higher frequencies in our voices. Super bare bones explanation, but you get it. So I'm not here to push you into a specific voice box or another one, not meaning the voice box with larynx, but more so like the cultural gendered boxes. There's many different voices, you know, like there's high feminine voices, average feminine voices, low feminine voices, just the same way that there's like
kind of like high-ish like masculine voices or really low masculine voices.
right? So what are we really working at here? I'm not trying to like get you to sound like a specific voice type. Instead, I want to expose to you what modifies the gender, at least on the biological level, because that's the one thing that we can have control over. So what is testosterone? Testosterone is that famous and infamous molecule for some of us that has affected our voice. And so it affects our voice in 3 ways during puberty. The first way that it affects our voice is by making our Adam's apple drop. And as it drops,
It makes a much bigger size. Kind of like, you know, going from a small trumpet to a huge trombone, or
from a small ukulele
to a huge guitar.
we made the space bigger, and the frequencies resulting from that are going to be filtered to sound darker. And so that's the first part. So we get a
Bigger vocal tract. The second part is that the vocal folds that vibrate really fast, you can tell my pitch is really high, right? They end up kind of lengthening due to exposure to testosterone, and as they lengthen, they eventually, you know, yield a much lower pitch. And third but not least, in this effect is muscle mass. You might have noticed that those who have testosterone tend to build up muscle more easily, and that is the same for voice. When we have more muscle mass present in our voice, which we refer to this as vocal weight, we can achieve a much boomier, more textured sound, and all of this together gives us a really masculine voice. In the case of voice masculinization, you're going to want to mimic the effects of testosterone without the presence of it, so that can be a little bit difficult. But in the case of voice feminization, you already have all the tools ready. All you have to do is learn how
to manipulate and use them differently to achieve a more feminine leaning sound. And that is pretty much all there is to it. With the limited amount of time I have. So now let's do some vocal warm-up together. For this, I encourage you to unmute yourselves, and what we'll be doing is some gentle sounds, you know, some sounds to warm up our voices, because I mentioned before that we want to do 2 things. We want to keep our voice hydrated, and we also want to keep our voice warmed up. If you're going to run a marathon, you're not going to run the marathon, you know, without stretching your legs. That wouldn't work really well for you. So the same works for voice. There's also some part of it that is muscle, so it kind of makes sense. For this, all I want you to do is just listen to me. I'll do a slide up in pitch, and then you mimic after me. All right, I'll go first on an O sound, as in the word old. Let's try this one together in 3, 2, 1. All right, very good. Let's try a different one. This time we're going to do the sound as Z, as in the word zoo. I go first. Let's try this together in 3, 2, 1. All right, very good. And last but not least, this one we're going to do is a lip trill. You basically want to take your lips and create that vibration. If you struggle to do this, you can take your index fingers and kind of like put them on the sides of your lips, kind of like gently pressing. It can help the lips relax if you struggle with that. All right, let's give this a try. I show you first. Let's try this all together in 3, 2, 1. All right, very good. Good job, everyone. And with that, our warm-up is over. Of course, you might want to do this not just like 3 slides or whatever. I like to do like 1 minute or 2 minutes of kind of this warm-up each time when I wake up in the morning. It really gives the best chances for my voice during the day. And the days where I don't do this, I kind of feel it at the end of the day. So be sure to do some of these sounds as they help your voice warm up. Okay, with that being said, we'll move on to the next part of the workshop. For those who are new here, what I try to do is have 2 people on stage who want to masculinize their voices and 2 people on stage who want to feminize their voices. So if you want to make your voice masculine, let's start with masc voice today. Raise your hand, jump in place, or use the hand emoji. All right. Anyone up for voice masculinization? Going once, going twice, going thrice. All right, I guess we go voice feminization first today. So if you want to make your voice more feminine. All right, I'm seeing you over here. Tuna, have you already been on stage before?
Yeah, but it was like, what, 6 months ago?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Could you come a bit closer?
Yeah, but it was like 6 months ago, and like...
6 months ago? Okay, all right.
Yeah, you know,
Okay. Would you mind letting someone else come up on stage? If there is not a lot of people, we might go later. Okay.
All right, yeah, sure.
All right, so I saw you Goofert. Is that how I say it? Yeah, you've not been on stage before?
No, I've not.
All right, come up on stage. Come on. Everyone give a round of applause to Goofert. Woo! All right. Hello there, Goofert.
Hello.
Did I even pronounce the T at the end? I don't know if I should. Goofert?
It's fine.
Okay. All right. Let me set up a timer. All right. Let's go. So, Goofert, welcome up on stage. Have you already been in some of these workshops before?
I have not.
Very first time here then, right?
Mhm.
All right. Awesome. So let's talk about it. You want to feminize your voice, right? So what kind of voice work have you already done before? Not necessarily voice work, but voice acting, singing, done some funny things with it.
I've been in choir for 3 years at this point. I say I have a decent control over my pitch and stuff. And I have done a little bit of impressions for characters, but none of them are feminine, so...
That's all right. All I need to know is that you are already using your voice. In the case of choir, you already have a good grasp of pitch. That's right. Singing does help with that. And for doing silly character voices, you kind of already have kind of like a connection to your voice that some might not have if they have not done anything with their voices. So that's already a very good starting point. I want to hear a slide from your lowest pitch up to your highest pitch.
All right.
Give it a try.
I could probably go higher, but I think I would need to do some funky things to like switch the pitch range.
No need to. You are going all the way up to an which is an A sharp 4, which is more than enough for most femme voices to be in. Okay, awesome. So your pitch is great. One of the main techniques we will use here is whisper exercises. Why whisper exercises? Well, if you're not already aware of this, when we hear voices, we don't only hear the pitch. We hear the pitch and the texture, the timbre of the voice. Maybe you've heard that term before, maybe in choir. And so typically in choir, what we tend to do is, because we are a big group of people and we're all singing together, the purpose is you serve as one instrument within an orchestra that is just a voice orchestra in a way. And so when your voice is used like that, you tend to open up your throat more. You tend to lower the larynx, because if everyone has like a really bright sound, then it sounds like very buzzy and it's not a very nice sound to have in a choir.
So most choirs will tend to like go towards this kind of sound. Ha!
instead of a ha, right? Because the second one, the latter one, would be brighter and would kind of saturate the frequency of the spectrum frequency really quickly. So you basically want to kind of do something opposite to choir singing. Instead
Of dropping your Adam's apple to achieve a darker sound,
and thus have a cohesive song with a group, you're thinking more like pop singer, more solo. You want your voice to be bright and pierce through, through like the silence, I guess. Not quite, but so let's talk about how we do this. Whisper exercises. When you use your voice, that might be one pitch. But that same pitch can be either really big with a really big vocal tract,
or be really small.
So how do we achieve this? If you use a whisper, like so, can you give me a whisper on the word hello? Something like,
Hello.
careful, I heard some voice. I heard like, hello. Let's try not to voice it at all. Just breath. Hello. Great. Now that whisper might not sound like much. It's like a ghost behind your voice. But that ghost conditions a lot of what your voice will sound like. So if you give me like a very dark hello, like Darth Vader dark,
Hello. Give you a really dark hello.
yes, as you've done this, you have dropped your larynx. Don't believe me? You can just take your hand and put it gently on your neck. Just don't press down, just kind of like try to find the bump on your neck there. And then go from like a hello down to a
Hello.
try it out.
Yeah, I feel it.
Yes, very good. So your larynx has dropped, making your neck a bigger size, right? Neck bigger size, your throat a bigger size. And this has resulted into
A darker whisper.
you would tend to say that this darker whisper also sounds like more masculine leaning, right? So what you would want to do is the opposite way around, going from a really dark hello to a really bright hello. So let's try the following.
Hello.
Try it out. Awesome. And that last hello here, hello, sounds really bright. I would say that sounds like a feminine whisper even. So already you are manipulating how big or how small your throat is. You are manipulating how bright or how dark your voice sounds. But that's just with a whisper. So we need to bring voice back into the game. So how do we do this? That is not the slide I wanted to show you. All right, this is the one I wanted to show you. Oh, whoops. So anyways, this here, I'm introducing you to the closure gradient. The closure gradient aims to kind of describe the voice in different states of opening or of closing of the vocal folds. If you use a whisper, well, your vocal folds are always open, kind of like in this state here. And so they end up not being able to vibrate, so they don't create any voice. But when I speak, whoops, when I speak and when you speak, right, you are in a balanced mode, which means that your vocal folds oscillate really fast between open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. And the rate of that vibration would be your pitch. So let's try just that then. I want you to try to go from a whisper into a breathy sound and then into a balanced sound. Kind of like, let's use the ah sound in the word pat, as in pat, that cat. All right, mimic after me. Really bright pat. All right, 3 states. Whisper, breathy, balanced. Let's try this out. Yes, and now from there, pa, can you just say pat, that, cat?
Pat that cat.
Now that's a feminine voice, all right? That's very good. You got it. So, pat, that, cat. Surely it's a beep boop, bop, bop, boop, fembot voice, That rat sat on that flat mat. Fitting given the Vocaloid avatar. But anyways, what I want you to try here is to try and read that sentence with that same quality. So small vocal tract with a bright whisper. Pa. We go into voice. Pa. Pa 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 pa. We test it a bit. And then we try to read. That mad rat sat on that flat mat. Give it a try.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
There you go. That's it. And now let's try to move the pitch around a little bit. So let's try to go up. Ah, that mad rat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Very good. And we go down. Ah, that mad rat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Boom. That's amazing sounding. And now let's try to do something a bit more modulated. Let's try to say that mad brat.
That mad brat.
Let's try this now. That mad brat sat.
That mad brat sat.
Very good. And now the whole sentence. That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Beautiful. And that, everyone, is a femme voice. You did it. Good job. You killed it. That was really good. So this is really all there is. You are shrinking your vocal tract. You make the sound a lot brighter, right? We hear this emphasis and your sound being much brighter. And your voice acting practice so far has definitely probably helped a lot with this. You're really good with mimicry. All I would say is just keep working at it. Maybe record yourself, play the sound back in your ears, you know, kind of like try to tweak things so that they're as bright as possible. And then there you go. You just have to use it and try to mimic voices that you like. And I'm sure you'll find the voice that you want to achieve. That was like the quickest and most efficient way to go there. So good job with that. That was killer. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. See you around. Bye-bye. Woo! Big applause to Cooper. All right, so now let's move on to the next person. Anyone interested in making their voice masculine, perhaps? No? Is masc voice not the hot stuff right now? I get it. All right, for femme voice then. He wants to, all right. Luna Sherry, yes. Have you been on stage before?
I have never.
All right, come up on stage. Everyone give a round of applause to Luna Cherry! Woo! All right. Hello, welcome. Let me set a timer so I don't lose track of time. Okay. Here we go. All right, so Luna, Cherry, Luna, welcome. Have you already been in one of these workshops before? Like, familiar with some of the terms we use?
Yeah, I've been around one.
Okay, good. So what would you say your experience with voice training is? I'm already hearing some voice modulation here a little bit, so what about you? Let me know where you are at.
I've just been doing some practice on my own, really.
Okay, very good. So, I'm already hearing like, so if I may mimic your voice or close to it, I've been doing some practice of my own. Like you're kind of like in a lower pitch. Your voice is also kind of bright and kind of soft. So I think it kind of already works as a femme voice. I would need to hear more of your voice and of that kind of voice to kind of tell if there's any caveats, any times or places where it drops. But for now, what I'm hearing sounds very good to me. So let's try and test it on some sentences. All right, so let's test this out. Can you try reading that first sentence in your current voice, please?
Sure. Hello, good morning. How are you?
Okay, sure. That's a bit lower in pitch, perhaps. Hello, good morning. How are you? Okay, so I would say it still is fairly femme, but you definitely lean very low in pitch. And I think that that lean towards lower pitches can sometimes lean androgynous and sometimes masculine in certain ways. See, when we work with lower pitches, we always run the risk of overlapping with a masc range. I'm going to show you like a little bit of this. So this graph here that you can see is like a very arbitrary graph I've made. This is by no means like how gender works or how gender should have pitches be, you know, like this is just one type of way to view at it. You could very much
Have a masc voice really high up there, right? Or
have a femme voice really way down there. So that's what I mean by overlap, is that typically we tend to find femme voices around higher pitches and we tend to typically find most masc voices towards lower pitches. Your femme voice is kind of in this area, right? And so this is why it's tricky, because this pitch here, and I need my pitch monitor for this so I don't tell you something that's wrong. Da 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 da. So right now I'm on a C#3 right there. And so given how soft my voice is and how bright my voice is, it sounds quite femme, right? But what happens if I make my vocal tract a little bit bigger? Oh no, this is already kind of androgynous, and if not, maybe a bit masc sounding, right? So I make my vocal tract smaller again. And so from here, I can also like play with my vocal fold mass. So I could go for a slightly thicker sound. And whilst it doesn't necessarily sound more masculine, it definitely sounds a bit more abrasive. And so basically, if I'm speaking at such a low pitch, I have to stay generally very soft and very bright. Well, not over bright either, because then it sounds kind of weird, like a very young girl trying to do a very low voice, whatever. So yeah, just to explain to you that like a small shift in vocal weight towards a slightly thicker sound, or a slight shift towards a slightly darker sound on that pitch, can very quickly become androgynous or masculine. So, two solutions. Either you work the hell out of those lower pitches and you really make sure that whatever you're going to speak in at those lower pitches is going to sound feminine within limits, that is like around A2, it's kind of where it gets iffy. Like this is really like dangerous territory. I feel like this is kind of doable with a femme voice, but like very rare. I think there's a few examples. Like there is Shore Ash Deleu, who is like the like oh wait, yeah, like I forget what the name is, but like she is some character in The Expanse. And she has like this extremely low voice type. Maybe a more speaking example in like a video game would be maybe like the Baldur's Gate narrator, you know, who like speaks with like the voice of no spoilers for people who haven't played it. Uh, and so like she has like this really low voice, you know, like yeah, it's a type of voice. So I guess it kind of depends, like, is that something you want? Like, do you see your voice being maybe higher pitched? Do you see your voice being more low and more chill? Like, this is really down to preference. Again, to fix that, either work the hell out of these low pitches, but do know that you will be limited if you don't use some of the higher pitches, because you can't quite intonate down, because down is kind of dangerous and more difficult, but up might have like a lot more space for you. Or you could shift your voice a little bit higher, maybe like speak with the bass line here, like kind of what I do. And then you can like use these lower pitches to like kind of finish your sentences. And sometimes these higher pitches for like intonation, for example. So yeah, let me know.
Hmm. I want to probably try to go for higher pitches.
All right. Actually, I want to see where your voice was there. That was interesting. I kind of want to go for like higher pitches. Da-da-da-da-da-da. So your voice is very much around C#3. So I kind of want to go for high pitches. Like you kind of go C#3, E3, F3 kind of. So like you kind of evolve right there. with your voice.
Mhm.
So you have all of this options too that you could use. So I just want you to try and mimic after me. We're going to do this on some of these sentences. All right. After me. You're here. Let's go together up. Good. Try to hold it there for a little bit. Ashes to ashes. Ashes to ashes.
Ashes to ashes.
We're still on D sharp 3. Okay, so you definitely do struggle with like reaching those higher pitches. Can you try and give me a slide from your lowest pitch up to your highest pitch?
Okay.
Okay, you can go all the way up here. Can you hold that last high pitch here? Not quite as high as before. This time it was a G3, like this is around here, and your highest so far was A3, around here, kind of. So I know something. When you go and pitch, up in pitches, you do this. I can tell like there's a lot of air being lost there. Try to go extremely quiet. Never try to push for a higher pitch, but instead try to nudge. So instead of going like, and struggling to go higher, let's instead start extremely quiet. Like, think about the flow of air like you have a birthday cake in front of you, happy birthday, and there's a candle, right? And you want to blow the candle, but you kind of want to make that moment last. So you don't want to like blow it all at once, like, but instead you kind of like want the flame to dance a little bit. So you kind of like do this really gentle airflow, like this kind of silent breath that didn't even really come through my mic, actually. Straight out. I guess it didn't come through your mic either. That's very good. And if that same airflow, you want to start the voice. So from a into like this really quiet voice. Try it out.
Okay.
Okay. I need you to change your settings in vrchat, please. Make sure that your noise suppression is turned off. So into mic settings, noise suppression off, and the mic activation threshold should be all the way down to 0%, at least just for now.
Okay.
Let's try this again. Very good. Yes. You notice how your voice does this, how it's kind of shaky, right? I can tell your voice wants to use more air. You're used, perhaps from your old masc voice, right, to use a lot of air because you would have to have a little more mass, you would have longer vocal folds that need to do slower vibrations, so like you would power those with more air. But now that you've moved on to feminine voice, you tend to actually need to put less power behind it. So you can just go for, and at first you might have this shaky sound, but with time and controlling the airflow, you can go to a really quiet and sustainable, stable. Once you've done this, you have, congrats, achieved a stable phonation, a stable vibration of the vocal folds that uses the bare minimum amounts of air. And then with that, and you can move quite high in pitch without having to force anything out. So with that that beta version of that experimental thing here, that pre-build of soft voice, already tried to go higher in pitch with that, and go. Try that out. Good. The goal is not to add more air. If you notice that you go from like a towards like a and like you start going louder, or if you notice that instead you're a little bit breathy, like this audible leak of air, then you want to maybe start going quiet again and start pushing from there. So let's try this one more. If the voice cracks, it's okay. Just kind of tap it a little bit, like, it's okay. Just, and keep going from there. And then try this. And then okay, up to G sharp 3. All right. I can kind of tell that your voice can go a lot further, but maybe you're like not allowing yourself to get there. Like, I'm not hearing like the typical symptoms of like the voice breaking or cutting off. So maybe this is just something that will come with time and practice. To me, it's really easy. I've had like this kind of like pitch monitor in front of me, so I can kind of see a line moving up and down. It kind of is easier to kind of see how you can challenge yourself to go higher and higher. If you don't really have that in front of your eyes, that can be a bit difficult. So I would definitely recommend that you play around with like some pitch monitoring softwares to kind of play around with that. Here are some softwares that I would advertise, not sponsored, sponsor me. Not really, but see, I use vocal pitch monitor. You can see like there's this kind of line. That's kind of what I have in my hands right now. I just see it underneath of my headset. And so, I can see like lines literally go up and down. And so try to challenge yourself to like scale up the stairs of pitch and thus kind of challenge your voice. You already have a start of a technique. You just have to have confidence enough to push your voice further. I can tell maybe you want to avoid that your voice cracks. Sometimes the voice cracks, that's okay. Like this is very common to go kind of up and do, and I know that can be a sound that feels like really bad to some of us. It's just a sound, so don't worry if that happens. As long as you keep your voice really soft and quiet, you can explore your range. And once you're more comfortable with that range, definitely use some of it. Your voice is already very bright. It's already very soft. I think you just need to like work on managing your airflow so it's a little bit gentler, a bit softer. So it like cooperates better with the closure of your vocal folds, right? And I'm sure that you will be able to put that to practice with those higher pitches with no problem. Okay?
Okay.
All right, very good. So everyone, give a big round of applause to Luna Cherry. Woo! All right, next up, do we have anyone who wants to make their voices more masculine? Maybe one of the new faces wants to make their voice masc voice? No one? Oh, I guess it's a fem voice only workshop today then. All right, fem voice, who wants to make their voices more feminine? Yes, Princess Bima. Have you already been on stage before?
No, I have never been on stage.
All right, come up on stage. Everyone give a big applause to Princess Bima. Woo! All right, hello, welcome. Hi. Let me set a timer. Blip. Okay, so hi. Welcome up on stage. Have you already been in one of those workshops before or nah?
Yeah, last week.
Okay, awesome. So I'm already hearing like a lot of feminization in your voice. So, I mean, how about you let me know what you want out of this workshop?
I think my voice doesn't sound very natural, and I'm not sure it doesn't feel natural, feminine enough. I didn't change it too much from my original voice, so I still feel like it sounds like a boy's voice, my masculine one. and I want to make it like more natural and more feminine. Something like your voice is super cute. I really enjoyed something like that.
First of all, thank you very much. Okay, so let's get things straight. That voice you're doing sounds feminine. Now, if it sounds natural, that's maybe a different thing. Natural is difficult because we always deal with like our own psychology, we always deal with like our identity clashing with our instrument, kind of the way I like to put it. And so, kind of the voice you're doing, if I may mimic something close to it, is like, hello, good morning. How are you? It's like well intonated, like goes all the way up in pitch, and like it's really high in pitch as well. And it's kind of like this, and it kind of tends to follow this same trend of pitch, kind of like it goes, hello, good morning. How are you? I'll have a cup of coffee, please. Or, ugh, I forgot to take my hormones. Right? There's almost like no direction and no purpose as to where the pitch moves. And I think part of what makes the voice more natural is the rhythm you put into it. It's like if I speak really quick, it's difficult to follow. But if I speak much slower, it helps you grab onto what words matter. So for example, you could say, hello, good morning, instead of hello, good morning, that would just be rhythm. That's part of making a voice more natural, because it's like now the voice is at the service of the meaning of your words, not the other way around. Words are not just like a way to convey voice. Voice is conveying ideas. And so you have to keep that in mind. You seem to be, like your voice seems stable enough. It seems like it's feminine, like it's bright, it's soft, it's really high in pitch. So I think you probably will not have issues with instability with that. So I think we can just try and do different melodies with our voices, if you will. So, all right, try to read that first sentence here. I just want to see and hear how you would say it.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Okay. Hello, good morning. How are you? Da 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 da. So that's interesting, right? Like you do this intonation. Hello, good morning. How are you? So you can like start high and then you go back from low to high and then back down, right? So it's this kind of like roller coaster up and down. Let's try something different. Maybe pace yourself a little bit more. Something like hello, good morning. Just hello, good morning. Try it out. Just make it slow.
Hello, good morning.
All right, already that sounds a lot more natural. All right, so hello, good morning, right? Let's try a different sentence. Can you say the next one? I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
I will have a cup of coffee, please.
All right, I would give you a cup of coffee. That sounds very natural to me. I'll have a cup of coffee, please. That sounds right to me. Try the next sentence.
Ugh, I forgot to take my hormones.
I like that. Ugh, I forgot to take my hormones. Right? So this is good because like you would maybe prior to that put more energy behind it. Like, ugh, I forgot to take my hormones. It's like, yeah, so you're happy about that? It's kind of like strange. But like now you put the right intonation in this. Ugh, I forgot to take my hormones. Kind of like not really sad, but like kind of bothered, So like that's a kind of good way to look at that. Okay, so we could also like look at the sentence in a different way. If you struggle to structure it and you maybe need to like intellectualize a bit more, you could go ahead and be like, okay, what am I trying to convey? First, I'm annoyed, so most of my intonation might go into the and then what did you forget? What's the action? What are the groups of words that we have? The action is forgot to do what? To take my hormones. So it's kind of like, I forgot to take my hormones. It's like, I forgot to take my hormones, right? It's kind of like, see, those are like pitch parentheses, right? It's different groups of blocks of words that you kind of want to convey. I forgot to take my hormones. Da 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 da, right? So like that's one other way to look at this. So that's just intonation. But perhaps if you do like my voice type, I would say the most simple way to achieve that would probably to just bring your pitch down. You speak really high in pitch. Could you read that next sentence? Are you really sure about that in your current voice, please?
Are you really sure about that?
Are you really sure about that? Would be around. Let me get this. Are you? That's A sharp 4. It's around here. You really sure about that? Really sure about that? So like your range is kind of like here. It's almost like a whole octave. So, are you really sure about that? Could instead be like da 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 da, like starting here. Are you really sure about that? Just shifting your voice a bit lower. Try to mimic this pitch after me. Okay, so you're here. Let's go down together. Oh, your voice is cutting off. Probably noise suppression. Could you make sure that your noise suppression is turned off into your mic settings, please?
It looks like it is turned off.
What is it?
The noise suppression, it's turned off.
Okay. Was it already turned off? Or maybe you're on PC, so you probably use like a
Yeah.
specific mic. Okay, that is a bit annoying. Da 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 da. It's all right. Just give me a slight like, ah.
Ah.
So around here, match my pitch here. Okay, good. Can you say, are you really sure about that?
Are you really sure about that?
Okay, very good. Are you really sure about that? Now from here, are you really sure about that?
Are you really sure about that?
Okay, very good, right? So this time, da 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 da, your voice only was around here. So it didn't really go way up there. I think this is kind of like what I like to call the Disney princess syndrome. It's not a real thing. I just made it up on the spot. But it's true though. If you look at Disney princesses, they tend to like intonate way, way high. Like instead of a kind of casual, hello, good morning, how are you? It's like a, hello, good morning, my fine prince. How are you? You know, it's way energetic and it's way too high, right? Like it sounds fake because it sounds like it's from a cartoon. Like no one is that overjoyous in real life. I mean, some people are. I like some people that are like this. I know some people like that. But most of the time, no. And so you could see this as a facet of femininity, right? We tend to find more melodical voices, more well-intonated voices to be more feminine. But you can go like as far as hyper feminine. I would say that nowadays such intonation is not really expected from a feminine voice, especially if it's like repeated a lot of the time. There is times where it makes sense to use it, you know? You've done this before on, I forgot to take my hormones, which sounds fine, and you would never intonate it like, I forgot to take my hormones, you know, because that just would sound out of character. And I think this is what it really boils down to. It's, you kind of have to find where those situations where like high intonation is appropriate, right? So like, just the same way you just said, are you really sure about that? Kind of works. But if you want to really lean into kind of like the doubt, you can go, are you really sure about that? Like go really high in pitch. And that already kind of sounds a bit kind of like a lot, but you know, it depends. I would say this is kind of like what you want to be exploring with, like not staying just into like a way too high range. Like if you always evolve here, 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 right? It sounds forced because there is never a point where you come down from such a high pitch, right? So you have all of these pitches available as well. Because of your microphone, we couldn't hear anything below A3. So these pitches are where I speak a lot in as well. So this is kind of like an area for you to explore. So like D3, E3, F3, G3. These are pitches that you can also be using, and I would advise you to use a little bit, not to move away from this specifically, but to have a broader range of expression, and thus choose to kind of like stay down here like I choose to be, and then like sometimes go really high for certain intonations, you know? It's kind of up to you. So that's about it. I hope that this advice helped you out. Nonetheless, your voice is very femme. Just kind of like try to find what voice works for you. So try lower femme voices. That could be a good challenge for you. Okay?
Just one question. Is the
Yes.
vocal fold mask okay? Do I need to change it
Yeah.
to...
No. I have a question. Is the vocal fold mask okay? If it was not okay, it would sound something like, I have a question. Is my vocal fold mask okay? No, that's not how you sound like. So your voice is already quite soft. One thing I do notice with your voice, now that you mention it, it's not so much vocal fold mass, or it's more like an issue with vocal fold closure, where like when you talk so high in pitch, you kind of like go to lower pitches and kind of like end them with like a creak, like so, which is not the end of the world, but I guess it kind of gives a bit like Cali girl voice, kind of like California girl, you know, kind of like the, oh my gosh, right, where there's always ending in creek. This might not be present in all cultures because, yes, voice is a cultural thing. You know, like French women speak differently than UK English women speak differently than US English women. And then there is like a bunch of states. So you have a bunch of, like a bunch of different accents in one country as well. So speaking with Krieg is perhaps a choice that you made. I think it's a lovely texture to have in your voice. I sometimes use it at my lower pitches, like so, for example. But perhaps this could limit your range to go downwards. So try to watch that out as well. Perhaps something that you want to work out of it, or maybe repurpose like at only your lowest pitches, for example. That's something for you to look into, because the last thing you want is to fit like I wouldn't say like a stereotype, but like, yeah, a lot of us tend to go towards stereotypes because stereotypes are easy to mimic because there is like this really clear definition, and they kind of live in our heads. So you kind of have to build your own stereotype, your own idea of what your femme voice should be. So yeah, not an issue with vocal fold mass, but perhaps watch out for creak. Creak again is when your vocal folds are sometimes a little bit more closed than they need to be. So that's something for you to watch out for. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Everyone, give a big round of applause to Princess Vima! Woo! Go, go. All right. Last but not least, who wants to make their voices feminine? Raise your hand, jump in, please. Who wants next up on stage? All right. Flora236, you have not been on stage before, have you?
No, I haven't, but...
All right, come up on stage. Everyone give a round of applause to Flora! Woo!
Yeah.
We really need some confetti for the stage. Someday, perhaps.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome. Let me set a timer. Blah, 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 blah. All right. All good. So, hi, Flora. Hello. Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. So, what brings you up on the stage today?
Well, I would say the main thing that brings me here in terms of trying to work with my voice is, I would say, an issue of grain, in a sense. Because while I can do
Great.
relatively well, I do give off this little bit of almost scratchiness at the back of my voice. And while
Interesting.
I can do pretty well, I haven't had like entirely formal voice training or anything like that. Kind of going off videos and stuff
Right.
and then using it constantly to try to make it work. So,
Right. So, like, if I may, like, mimic your voice a little bit, like, there's like a lot of creak, like, kind of there. Is that what you would describe as the graininess that you're experimenting with in your voice? Is that like,
Yeah. Like that's
yeah,
it's like I'm trying to
yeah.
sort of fix in a way.
Okay. Very good. This actually is a really nice segue to what we did with Bima at the end, because one of the things that she was doing is from like these really high pitches and lower pitches, but like showcase that creak. So this is also important for you, Bima. So what we're going to play around on is the closure gradient. You might have seen that with the very first person that moved up on stage here, we went from a whisper into a breathy and into a balanced sound, as to use the whisper to make the voice more bright. Remember, a big whisper, dark whisper.
Yields a really masc voice.
But a much brighter whisper yields a really femme voice, right? As a result of a bright whisper means that we have a smaller vocal tract, means our instrument is smaller, and we get more emphasis on those higher pitches. So we can do the gradient in one way, from whisper into balanced, to set up our voices. But you want to do the other way around. You don't want to go towards balanced or towards creak, because you would lean into more closure. And more closure is basically what is giving you that kind of grainy sound. Creak is not something that comes out of nowhere. It's a symptom of two possible options. Either you have your vocal folds kind of like in a normal setting where they just kind of open and close normally, and perhaps at certain times you might lack the air to power the vibration. And for example, here I'm speaking for like a lot of time on one single breath, and eventually you're going to notice that I'm running out of breath and I'm not breathing more air anymore. So like right now the CO2 is starting to build, but oh, my voice is starting to fail because I need air to power that vibration in the first place. So it might be a lack of air. A lack of air would mean that the vocal folds are kind of leaning towards more closure, but because there is not enough air to blow them apart, they kind of end up leaning into this closed position, and the little amount of air that comes through is like a few bubbles of air that come through this. So perhaps that might be an issue. I don't know, like perhaps you struggle with air in general, maybe with your airflow. That could be something to look into. That's one way. The other way would be, well, perhaps you just lean more towards closed sounds. Like your airflow is nice. It's like always steady. It's always available. But perhaps, you could end your words like kind of closing the vocal folds, kind of like using your vocal folds as a valve for the airflow instead of cutting the air from maybe your lungs, right? So it kind of gives this I don't know what to give this voice type a name, but like I'm kind of speaking like this, and I kind of stop and start my words. This reminds me a little bit of a kind of person that talked like this. I forget who that was. And so like that kind of stop and go, right? That might be, you closing the vocal folds to avoid. Oh, are you okay? Whoops. Did the headset fall? Oh, hi?
No,
Hello?
I was
You
talking with
okay?
someone. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and,
okay. Yeah.
They
Okay.
were asking me to do something, but I'm busy at the
Yeah.
moment. So
You are busy at the moment. That's correct. Okay, cool. So, let's try this out, right? It could be one way or another. One way would be to just regulate the airflow. The other way would be to regulate how open or how close your vocal folds are. Whatever that may be, we're going to want to go from a closed sound to an open sound, to put it really simply. So I want you to mimic after me here. Interesting how you end here. That's interesting, right? It shows that your voice has a lean towards more closure. Every time you stop your voice, your vocal folds close. That could also be an issue of offsets. Your voice can start and stop in different ways. Either I stop like hello, right? Like my vocal folds open and my air stops at the same time. Hello. Or instead, I could stop breathy, like hello. my vocal folds open first, but my air disengages later. Or in your case, your air disengages first, hello, and you get the creak because your vocal folds are opening last, right? So just from this we're gonna go into a breathy sound. So all right, and then from a breathy sound to a whispery sound. So yes. And now the way back. Very good. And now what you can try is whisper, breathy, balanced, and creaky. Good. And then from creaky into balanced. All right, very good. So you already have somewhat of a control now over how open or how close your vocal folds are in relationship to your airflow, right? And the way back. All right. Oh, that was interesting. The air came afterwards. That was kind of strange. Okay, so that might be helping you to avoid the creak here. If you try to go more towards breathy instead of leaning creaky. So kind of like you generally want to avoid whispers and breathy sounds, y'all, because when you do breathy and whispery, there's a lot of air that brushes past the vocal folds. And because of that, it dries up your voice. So you don't want a dry voice. That makes it more tricky to use for a longer period of time. So now we can try to put this to practice. Can you try here to read the sentence, that mad brat sat on that flat mat?
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
So we have this, that mad brat sat on that flat mat. So we have a bit of creak. Let's try to go slow, one word after another. That mad
brat
good.
sat
Keep going.
on that flat mat.
See, that flat mat. So here what you could try is that. Go towards breathy, not leaning into breathy, but leaning towards it. So either by adding more air or by opening the vocal folds more. That. Yeah.
That mad brat sat on. Sorry,
it's okay.
Like to kind of go a bit into. I believe the reason I have this issue is like as a kid, when I was really young, I used to do like a Venom voice, a very deep one, to the point where
like
it started to like hurt.
Oh,
so
you might. Okay, so this is actually a really important issue. If you suspect having vocal damage, I would definitely recommend that you see a laryngologist. They're equipped with cameras to see down your throat, and something that could happen, and this is not really fun, is like the buildup of nodules. So what are nodules? Nodules are like little bumps of like skin on your vocal folds, are like little bumps, like here, here, here. And if they're present in your voice, and if you feel like there's like a lump in your throat, perhaps, so like your voice feels scratchy really quickly, then perhaps that could be an issue, right? Like instead of having like this proper phonation where your vocal folds go from like really open to really close, perhaps what you get is, well, you would basically have the little bumps of the vocal folds that make contact before the rest of the full body of the fold, resulting into this grainy sound. But for example here, I know I don't have nodules because I kind of have a camera at home that I can use to check my vocal folds. So I know I don't have that issue. So of course, this is something that we can mimic with behavior. So before, being panicky about this, just know that it's also very much likely a thing of behavior. And you kind of have to be like a professional singer amount of like going through your voice a lot, and really fatiguing it to really get that kind of damage. Like, you really got to try for it. But if it's a possibility and not too expensive for you, do definitely check with a laryngologist to see if there's something wrong with your vocal folds. I think there's probably nothing wrong with your voice. I just think it's the way you use it, because behavior can do a lot of things. Like, you can mimic a lot of sick voices. Like, for example, like, I can talk like this. But that doesn't mean that my voice is dead. It just means I'm using like my voice in a very different way, you know? Or I can talk like this, like layered voices, which is something that is generally found in people with like partial paralysis of the vocal folds. With behavior, I can mimic these things. So perhaps that's your case. I wouldn't rule it out if you have like a good reason to think that might be it. If you did a kind of Venom voice, I don't know if it's like a I am Venom, or if it's more of a like I am Venom. Because
Yeah,
depending
like
if it's
closer to that.
so if it's closer to the second one, you shouldn't be too worried, because this kind of voice I am Venom uses not your real vocal folds, but instead the false vocal folds on the side, and so they would take most of the damage, quote unquote, and they're a lot more resilient than your true vocal folds. Except if you like maybe like layered that vibration with a vibration of your true vocal folds, like right, and maybe right, maybe that could have hurt. So I don't know. It doesn't hurt me specifically, but I do have good technique for this. But yeah, if it definitely hurt, it might be good for you to check it out. And other than that, so creak again is the modulation of airflow. So as long as you have not explored all the avenues of you regulating how much air you push, like, right? Like, would you say that you generally run out of air often when you speak? Or would you say that you have a lot of air to go still after you speak?
I would say kind of closer to a decent bit. I do have a lot of control with how much I can take in air and exhale, mostly because I did some kind of like training with that in the past, mostly to, you know, breathe without having it being forced. But
that's very important.
That
can... another thing that comes to mind is super simple, is you probably shifted from a masc voice. Maybe, I don't know where your starting masc voice was before making it sound more feminine. Perhaps like it was all the way down here. And one of the things that happen is when you raise your Adam's apple, right? When you raise your Adam's apple, your vocal tract becomes smaller, and your vocal folds have a tendency to close more, right? So because they have a tendency to close more, it's only natural that you end up leaning more towards a creak. Okay? So like, you might want to also bring your pitch higher, because there's also a thing where if your vocal tract is really small, but you still lean towards like really low pitches like so, then if you lean towards those lower pitches here, you know, you might end up having like a lot of creak, because you still sustain the same amounts of closure that you would have in a masculine voice. Here, what I do at those low pitches to avoid this kind of creak down here is I
have to go.
Okay, that's all right. All right, so all I wanted to say here is, once you have this creak, you can just like lean more towards breathy, and not going into breathy either. So you just have like this balanced sound. Explaining this for the audience because it looks like Flora has gone. But yeah, anyways, finishing this explanation, and maybe Flora, if you watch this video, well, you know, you can like listen to the end of my explanation. But yeah, your voice, Flora, here is quite low in pitch, I would say. Not extremely low, but like, because it's so low in pitch, and you also have a really bright voice, I can see how it could be really easy for your vocal folds to like get into this creaky state, like so. So maybe try exploring towards higher pitches. Maybe you might notice that going to higher pitches kind of helps remove that that forced closure. So if that works out for you, then you know that your issue might just be with the lower pitches of your voice, and you might just want to like soften your voice. Maybe try to speak with a very low airflow, or perhaps you could try to lean towards more open vocal folds as you relax your voice a bit more into it, and that could help you out. And also check with a doctor if you have the possibility for it. Laryngologist, the doctors of the larynx. That's what they are. So yeah, anyways, I know Flora's gone, but everyone give a big round of applause to Flora! Woo! All right, beautiful. So with that being said and done, we are about ready to wrap up this workshop. I'm looking like this as if I have a watch. I do not have a watch. I am completely lost with time. So please, Rory and 1B, do we have any questions from either Twitch or from the Discord? Let me know.
Yes, there are actually a few questions in the Discord today.
All right.
This is from Mail. How long does it take to master your voice like that? I know there's no set timetable, but like a basic idea.
Okay, so like there's 3 main time frames of voice, I would say. The first time frame is exploration, you know, playing around, finding out how you can make your voice brighter, make your voice darker, make your voice go high in pitch, make your voice go low in pitch, make your voice really thick, make your voice really thin, and then work all of these kind of like gradients, you know, like there is granularity, there is steps in between those extremes, whether it is vocal fold mass, whether it is pitch, whether it is closure, whether it is vocal tract size, so your brightness or your darkness. That's the first stage. The second stage is you kind of have found a femme voice or a masc voice, depending on what you're doing, and you kind of like evolve up and down, well, not up and down, but you kind of try to use it. It's kind of unstable still. You're trying to like figure it out, but you most of the time manage to get a femme voice, and it kind of like helps out to, you know, also practice different sounds to kind of see the parallel between like your masc voice, your femme voice. Always make that comparison to remind your perhaps dysphoria, induced judgment that can be a little bit faulty at times. I know it was for me. It's probably also for you. And even for me still nowadays, I still feel like, oh, I still kind of sound like masc, and I have to remember, no, not really, because dysphoria is a thing. And the third stage would be, well, now you're well with your voice. You kind of have like a really nice kind of voice. You just like are in the phases and stages of accepting it, accepting that it's not a fake voice, accepting that it's not something you put on, accepting that, hey, if you spend like 20 plus years of your life perhaps using a really deep masculine voice, that maybe it takes some time for your brain to accept your new voice and not to kind of like blare red alarm whenever you use it as something that's fake. It is not. You just have to get used to it, and the more you get used to it, the more it becomes natural because you use it more. So it's a feedback cycle. But to get the mastery control I have, you have to be a big nerd about it, and you have to like do a lot of sounds. I have a past of like 12 years or so of beatboxing. So like, you know, sounds like. So like to me, working with voice and doing weird stuff, experimental or not with it, was already built into me before I even worked on voice feminization. And gender modulation maybe took like a good 2 or 3 years to fully master, I would say. And still up to this day, I still figure things out, not theory-wise, but with my own body and, you know, kind of like how I achieve things. Not something that really is translatable in theory. Some things you just have to experience personally too, you know, because we're different individuals. I know, crazy. But yeah, that's not a really set time frame. I would say for all of this, 3 years total, perhaps. Like there was a year of setting up the voice, there was a year of accepting that voice, and there was a year of being kind of free with it and mastery, and then kind of like exploring different emotions or exploring different types of femme voices, right? Because there's not just one type of femme voice. You might want to do some acting. If you maybe are a D&D player and you like to add some voices to your characters. So yeah, I hope that gives a little bit of a time frame. Everyone has a very different experience. Some people start having sung in choirs. Some people start having done beatboxing for several years. Some people start not even knowing what music theory is. And so grabbing the terminology of like, what is C3, E3, F3 is already difficult. So we don't all start with the same level of knowledge. Some of us are more privileged than others. I know I am for sure. So don't compare yourself to others, especially if they don't start with the same amount of training and of growth in music and voice use and singing, etc., etc. So yeah, that's my answer to this question. Hope that answers it. What other questions do we have? 1B, please.
So the Pop-Tart says, I have a moderately deeper voice than most people. They sound like the Russian Badger if he had the vocal cords of Corpse Husband, and they struggle with making their voice higher and stable at the same time. Is there a way to train their voice to not start scratching and cracking when they use a more feminine voice?
Honestly, it's extremely hard to say without hearing it. I do know that Corpse Husband has been diagnosed with GERD, so basically acid reflux, and that acid reflux has pretty much chemically burned their vocal folds, which is why they have such a low voice and such an ease at achieving such a low voice. So if you show similar symptoms, there might be a medical underlying reason, and I would definitely recommend, if possible for you, I would definitely recommend that you definitely do get it checked out, maybe a follow-up with an SLP, or better yet, a laryngologist that could take a look at your vocal folds and tell you for sure if there is something up with your vocal folds and orient you towards best practices to heal from it and to work with it, because we don't always necessarily heal from handicaps, we learn to live with them. So yeah, but when it comes to tracking your voice, with all of that in mind, I'm not a doctor, I'm just a voice coach, but from my slightly educated perspective on medical matters, I would say, and take it with a grain of salt, if your voice cracks, I would really drill or practice kind of closure, trying to think of your airflow actively. Am I using a lot of air for my voice? Am I using very little amounts of air for my voice? And if that's already kind of done, you can then try to figure out, okay, maybe is my airflow unstable? If I speak at high pitches with a lot of air and the vocal folds don't quite close, then yeah, it's no wonder that your voice kind of cracks, because every time your voice cracks or fails, it's generally for a reason. Either there is something going on wrong with the configuration of your vocal folds, maybe they don't close enough, maybe instead they close enough but they're too tense, one of the most common voice cracks that we have is the switch between an M1, a modal voice, and the M2, the falsetto voice, if you will. When we go up, that's the technique used for yodel singing, for those who know yodeling. And yeah, that's maybe the most common one. So I would definitely practice around first some monotony. I like to practice monotonously at F3 or G3 perhaps. These pitches are good because they're right in the middle. They're not too challenging for a beginner in femme voice, because there is definitely an overlap with most masc voices there as well. So yeah, if you go too high in pitch, yeah, right, most of the voice cracks happen around B3 and C4 for most people. So if you try to really push your voice way too high in pitch, no wonder that your voice cracks are happening. So try to speak monotonously, like a robot at first, maybe something like beep boop bop, that mat, brat sat on that flat mat. If you don't keep stable with already that sound, then you definitely do want to do a lot of softies. So softies are what we did at the very start of the workshop. It's kind of like doing those or those gentle slides up and down in pitch that allow us to, warm up our voices, but also because what we do here is close the mouth a little bit, we create a pressure here. And you might be like, that makes no sense. But no, it does. Because when you usually speak and use your voice, you always have the pressure from your lungs, right? Your vocal folds vibrate from bottom to top. Unless you speak by breathing in, like speaking like this, right? But most people don't speak by breathing in, so not really an issue. But so when you do those sounds, your lips in the way create a pressure that helps fight the pressure in your lungs, and this can help restore a more balanced vibration between the airflow and the closure of your vocal folds. So this is something that could help you heal your voice and help you warm up your voice before getting into practice that could make your voice crack and break. So yeah, consider vocal hygiene as well. Drink water, of course, and you should be good to go. But yeah, that's the problem you're describing seems like very specific. So with the minimum of info I have, that's the only thing I can tell you. So yeah, I hope that helps you and gives you some directions to reach your voice goals. All right, maybe a last question, perhaps?
Yeah, there's one more question from the Atomizer. Okay. Is there a reliable way to decouple vocal fold mass from voice loudness, or are they the same thing? I am either not fully understanding the concept or struggling to separate them.
Okay, loudness is subjective. It's very much based on our ears, and our ears are not perfect microphones, right? So what I mean by this is that our ears tend to hear higher pitches as louder than what they actually are. Some evolutionary scientists tend to say that maybe it's a thing we did as monkeys to hear the babies or the women, whatever, through the jungle, whatever it may be. But we tend to hear higher pitches louder than what they actually are. So like on a same amount of, and I'm not going to use the word loudness, I'm going to use the word amplitude, right? Because volume could refer to like a volume of air moving, you know? So like on the same amplitude, right? You might hear this higher pitch louder even though it's the same amplitude, right? I put the same intensity, I technically push the same amount of air, but it's very simple too, right? My vocal folds vibrate faster, right? So, you know, you get double the amount of vibration in the air, so we kind of tend to hear that as louder. But there's a better scientific explanation that I cannot give you here because I'm rusty on the topic, and, you know, some scientists in that field might tell you that one better than I do. But basically, yeah. The difference between vocal fold mass and loudness, so loudness amplitude, is that vocal fold mass tends to, you know, that's not what I want to have. Here we go. Heavier vocal fold mass tends to have more of the vocal body being involved in the vibration process of your voice, whereas lesser vocal fold mass tends to have less. So when we do a soft voice, we use less air and we move less matter. When we have a thicker voice, we use more vocal fold mass. So quite literally, we have like a bit more of the muscle flexed, and to push that now slightly more tense and that slightly more thick sound, we need more air to push that through. But you can very much do a really thick sound like this and not be specifically yelling, and do a really thin sound like that and not be, you know, quiet, right? Because it all depends not so much on the vocal fold mass, but more so on how much air and how much vibration of the vocal folds you're gonna get, rather than strictly the vocal fold mass being present. So yes, of course, having more vocal fold mass with the same amount of air will always sound louder, right? But they're not necessarily the same thing. So you can achieve loud feminine voices without having to be thick, right? You know, without having to be thick, like so. But that's also a bit cheating because I go for higher pitches, and you perceptually hear that as being louder than it actually is. So here is that. Take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, no, you can you can have really thick sounds that are not particularly loud like this, right? It can also be really loud like this, but it could be kind of quiet. It, you know, always will be louder to have a thicker sound, of course. But yeah. So yeah, they're not necessarily the same thing. Well, they're not the same thing at all, actually. But definitely more vocal fold mass tends to contribute to more loudness, to a higher amplitude of the sound you're going to produce. So yeah, I hope that answers your question and gives a bit more nuance to your relation between the vocal fold mass and general loudness or amplitude of the voice. So yeah. So all right, okay, great. That's pretty much it. What time is it? VR is not giving me the time. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna be wrapping up this workshop here. All right, thank you all today for showing up. I hope you enjoyed this class, and I hope you learned plenty alongside all the wonderful people that moved up on stage. So yeah. For you, Flora, by the way, I kind of gave the rest of the explanation to the YouTube video, so you can check the VOD in maybe a month or so, and you would have like the rest of your explanation, or just feel free to ask questions after the workshop. Not this one, because we're a bit late and short on time, but yeah, I'll be filling you up on those details. So yeah. That's pretty much it. So I hope y'all enjoyed this workshop. Let me do the end of the workshop blurble. Hey everyone, my name is Savvy. I teach voice feminization, voice masculinization, voice androgynization. I also teach stuff such as singing, voice acting, and a fun little thing called human beatboxing with sounds such as So if you'll learn any of these crazy, weird, strange sounds, you know, you can always hit me up in Discord. Find me at savvy_sav, all in lowercase letters on Discord. I do public lessons, private lessons, so if you want to know about my rates or scheduling, just let me know over there. I also have a Discord server called Scientifically Augmented Voice. I do public lessons over there, so if you want to get even more stuff to listen to, head on to my Discord. It's in my bio here in vrchat. You can click the link, no problem. So I hope I see you there. And other than that, of course, Jessa does classes during the week. I do my classes during the weekend. So if you want even more Academy Trans Voice practice, be sure to check out her workshops. They are amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much, Rory, and thank you so much, Wendy, for helping me co-host this workshop and dealing with me being a little bit late, as per usual. Shouldn't be as usual, I know. And yeah, I want to say bye to YouTube, and bye to Twitch, and of course, bye Discord, bye-bye.